Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I set up our yearly budget overview. I'm going to go over the layout of this first, and then we'll get into the numbers. I'm also, if you guys stay to the end, if you guys are interested, I'm going to show you some new additions to my 2022 spreadsheet budget system over here. It's going to be one of the bundles or one of the templates that I'm going to be selling. I'm going to be selling each one individually as well, so I'll get into that later on in the video if that's something you want to see. But let's go ahead and just focus on our yearly budget and how I have this bad boy set up. I do want to show you guys before I start the complete transformation, or I wouldn't say complete transformation, but I just changed up the colors in here compared to what I had. This was ours last year that I created. And I just wasn't feeling the colors, so I changed it up for this year. And the layout is still pretty much the same. I just changed a couple things like the colors. And yeah, so I like this so much better. I think it looks so much cleaner. But yeah, so I am a biweekly paycheck budgeter. My husband gets paid biweekly. That is how we budget. So it's every 2 weeks. It is not on set dates. I know there's people who get paid twice a month and they're on set dates. I used to get paid that way as well. It used to be on the 10th and 25th of the month. But for us, it's just every other Friday. I broke it down according to paychecks here. So over here in this row, it's all broken down by paychecks. I have the months over here. I highlighted the months that are our 3 paycheck budget months, not necessarily the months where we'll get 3 paychecks, because I know it's, I think, April, where it's like 3 paychecks if you're getting paid bi-weekly every other Friday. But how we budget, this is just how it is for us, or how I budget, I mean, or how I organize. In the top section here, it's all of the different categories. So paycheck dates, of course, the starting balance that we carry over to the next paycheck budget, our income over here, and I'll go over what the income kind of includes. Savings, I'll go over again what falls under savings, all of our fixed regular expenses, variable expenses, seasonal expenses, which is those annual bills that you might get, or like seasonal events that happen. It doesn't happen often. Think of it as non-recurring expenses. Extra debt payment, I still have it on here even though we're debt free, just so you guys can see what's included in the spreadsheet template. And then here with the total, so income minus all of the expenses is going to be our net total, and what I like to call savings potential. Moving on to income down here. So how I have it laid out, so if I scroll down, I like to see this part of my screen. So while I'm inputting numbers, I can see like the dates that it's in, and I also want to be able to see the so as I'm budgeting, let's say for variable expenses, I just like to see the numbers here that I still have left to budget for. It just works out with like the planning part and allocating all of our funds and making sure we don't go over and making sure that they go where it needs to be. But yeah, so just wanted to show you guys that while I'm scrolling down. So for the income section, this is what we have: paycheck, child tax credit. I don't know how it's going to look for next year, if we're still going to be doing that or holding off and just saving it for like getting it during tax refund time. Savings, anytime we use like any of our sinking funds, that's what that kind of income is. Gifts, anytime we receive gifts from friends and family. Refunds, it's really rare, but there's sometimes where we do get a refund back, and just want to make sure we include that. And I made space for other, because sometimes we'll receive income from like an SDI payment. Since my husband's not at work right now, that's what it's going to fall under, and I'll just change it, or I will just make a comment here or something, and that's what I'll put. And then I also have a section where it says from last paycheck, and I will go over that later on when I talk about the numbers. And then fixed regular expenses is just all the bills that we have. And then I also have a cushion there, and then for next budget, so this part right here, for next budget and then from next budget, kind of has to do with each other. So, and then I also have variable expenses. I just put the numbers where we typically use on here, and this is our pretty much our variable expenses that hasn't changed. The only thing I probably added here this year was healthcare. Other than that, everything's still been the same. Then I have all of our savings categories here. And then we don't have any extra debt payments, but I did include that in this yearly budget overview for those who make those extra debt payments and don't want to put it over here. And then I also have our seasonal expenses here, and these are all of our seasonal expenses that we have. Christmas will most likely go on here as well. I don't know why it's not on here. Let me just add that because it's not, I think I just put all the bills that was on here, but Christmas usually is one, and then I should put travel because that's also another one that we use. But yeah, so I also have this little note over here. It says tip, if you need to insert or delete a row or column, insert it from the middle. That way the formula and the format doesn't need to be changed or doesn't get disrupted. But yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at these numbers. So anything that we put in these boxes here, I'm not putting anything in this box here other than starting balance. That's the only thing that I will manually input. Everything else is auto-populated in here based on these down here. So, oops. So for now, let me click back. There you go. So for now, income, I just put my husband's base pay. I actually took the average of how much he got paid last year and just divided it up. And this is pretty much what he got paid on average. And there's some weeks where he'll get paid hella overtime, some weeks where it's just base pay. And actually this coming 2 weeks, he's going to be traveling for work, and he's getting paid a lot of overtime. I believe he's working 7 days, 10-hour days. And so what I do is that as soon as he gets paid, or when we find out, we usually find out 2 days before payday, I will adjust the income, and that way I can allocate all that extra money or all that money into where it needs to go, especially for our savings goals. And then everything else here is blank. Most likely it'll get filled because my ninang does like to send us $100 a month for the boys, and lately that has been going to their college savings. And then what else? Oh, so from last paycheck, let's talk about this one. And then, so this is going in there as an income. It's technically just going to be leftover money right here. So for next budget, I budgeted out over here because let's say I didn't have that. Let's just put 0 there. Well, let me just delete that and then delete this. Oops, just so I can show you. So during the year, I'll have these like negative amounts wherever it says 0 right here. It was negative, and that just tells me that I don't have enough money in this budget to cover everything. So I need to make sure that I take money from the previous budget to make sure I'm covered. That's one of the mistakes that used to happen to us before, since we're not really looking ahead, that I would just think like, oh, we have $1,100 pretty much in this budget. Let's just spend it all or whatever. But then when I go into the next budget, we're like, oh shoot, we're short $600. And where do you think all that went? Credit cards. Well, it wasn't this high, but something like that, where like I just wasn't paying attention to our money. So what I do now is that I use this yearly budget overview to kind of plan ahead and see how much needs to be allocated to the next budget to make sure we're covered for our expenses. So that's why it gets put in as an income, even though it's not an income. It's going to be money left over. So this eventually will get deleted, and then our starting balance will be a lot higher than what it really was, just to account for that that money that we need to get in order to cover our expenses. Hopefully I'm explaining that right. So it's not really an income, it's more like leftover money. So I need to take the 622 from here, and then I try my best to do the changes in here as I go along. That way I'm not catching up, because with this spreadsheet here, having to catch up, it kind of takes a while sometimes, especially if I'm off by like 3 paycheck budgets. But I want to try to do my best to keep up with it, because I want to make sure I have an accurate total at the end of the year. That way when I look back and review our annual, like what we spent and all of that, that it's all put together for me and I don't have to go back and do the entire year. So that's this. So that explains this section here for next budget and then from last paycheck. Hopefully I explained that okay. It's really just for planning purposes to make sure everything gets paid. I also highlighted, before I move on, I highlighted certain ones in green here, just so I know these are all the seasonal expenses that we have to pay, just so I know. And then, like I said earlier, I highlighted our 3 paycheck budget months. And then, yeah, so for our variable expenses, everything right here is just what we normally will allocate for our variable expenses. It could change depending on what's going on, especially with fun and events. And sometimes right now I've been going back and forth and trying to see if we should just make this 300, since a lot of prices, groceries and takeout and stuff is kind of increasing in price. My husband the other day bought Jimmy John's for like $15, the sandwich place. And I was like, $15 for a sandwich? But yeah, so I might just end up increasing our food budget. We don't know just yet. It's been $250, I think, for like 2 years, I think. So I think it's time we kind of change it up, but we will see how the budget goes, because we want to make sure we try to save as much as we can also. So $675 seems to be the budget every 2 weeks for our variable spending. And then moving down to savings, I haven't allocated any of the amounts on here just yet because I'm still in the middle of reviewing our savings goals for the rest of 2021. And with my husband taking on this work trip, or going on this work trip, I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to save a really good amount. I just want to make sure I have a good starting point with our savings for 2022 before I start dividing up how much we're going to be saving for which category. So this is still going to be a work in progress. And then our seasonal expenses, want to make sure you always include, or you don't forget about, your annual expenses that you have. I think this year I actually forgot about our Nintendo online membership that we had. It's $30, but it's still $30, and it kind of threw me off, but we had our cushion to kind of save us. So luckily it wasn't one of the bigger bills that we forgot about. So, but yeah, I think it's super important to have a seasonal or annual list of bills that you have, because it can easily throw you off, especially if you're already working with, living paycheck to paycheck, and if your income's lower or something and you can't really cover it. So make sure you write those down. Okay, so that is pretty much it for our yearly budget overview. I do want to go ahead and show you guys what is in the rest of this spreadsheet template. It's going to be part of the biweekly paycheck budget bundle. There's going to be a biweekly one, a monthly layout one, and then also a weekly version for those who get paid weekly. And then included in there is going to be one of these. It's going to be a year at a glance. I do have this on paper on my wall right now, and I still need to fill this out. I also included a section for quarterly goals in here. And then I also have a budget overview in all of the templates, whichever you guys decide to get, the monthly, biweekly, or weekly layout. And then I'll probably go over this sheet right here separately, so I can go over how we broke down our budget categories and how I'm using this. And then the yearly budget overview, of course, there's going to be a biweekly version, a weekly, and a monthly. And then there's also a debt tracker. This was inspired from one of the trackers I had in the back of my passion planner. So if you guys are in debt and just want a way to keep track of all of your payments, I think this would be great to have. So that's that. And then I also included a net worth tracker as well. Assets up here, liabilities down here, and then your total net worth here at the bottom. And there's, of course, a savings tracker. This is the same one that I've been using. I really love this. So I didn't really change too much in here because I love the layout, and I think it works just fine. Not everyone, though, might like this interest part over here. You can totally delete that, but I like to calculate in the interest that we've earned, just because I like to have our totals exact, like our current balance and everything. I might do a separate video on this again once I figure out all of our savings goals and how I'm breaking that down. So, and then in the biweekly, of course, all the months are going to be all on here already. And that's because the calculations for the variable spending here will have to correspond or auto-populate based on the formulas. So if you mostly use a debit card, this might be this might be pretty useful, I think, because whatever you put in your expenses here, whether it's the checking account or the cash section here. So this is one paycheck budget right here. So paycheck number one. The second one is this one. And of course, if you are getting paid or not getting paid, or if you are budgeting weekly, that'll be 4 of these total. But yeah, so whether it's expenses from cash or checking account, it'll all auto populate into here. So whatever you decide, so these are my budget categories, and you'll input that into the budget overview here. So there's a lot of areas for category. You're not going to use all of it, but I just wanted it all to kind of be cohesive here and just line up. So totally not going to have that many variable expenses or categories, I don't think. But I just put all of our categories here anyways. So that's how that's working out. And I have all the months already on here, so you don't have to copy from the master list, because that's what I used to do. Was I would have a master copy and I would just copy or duplicate. Same thing with the expense tracker. But since I need the formulas to correspond to the correct sheet, I went ahead and just inputted that on there. Anyways, you guys, so that is pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed a look at what's going to be included in this new spreadsheet budget template. Hopefully you guys found it interesting. I am going to be filming a video of exactly what it is I'm going to be selling and how much they're going to be and where you can buy it. I do plan to launch this on November 22nd. So that video will for sure be going out before then, so keep a lookout for that. And yeah, if you have any comments, questions, or anything, please let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if you guys also set a yearly budget for yourself or for your family. And yeah, so thank you guys so much as always for watching, especially for watching till the end. And I will talk to you in my next video. Have a good one, guys.